This is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 plus 4. We're here on the Nintendo Switch 2. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So we've got Tony Hawk 1 and 2, and now we've got 3 and 4 in the vein of 1 and 2. So if you are a fan of how Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 originally were, you might be a little disappointed in terms of like the career mode kind of not being here. It's basically they took the maps from 3 and 4 and they just kind of, well, they took the game of 1 and 2 and then they just kind of started like making those maps and stuff available within the technology and everything there, and just kind of released it as this compilation of levels and stuff. And the results here are actually pretty cool. I mean, from a technical standpoint, I was hoping for a bit more out of the Switch 2. Since this is one of the first kind of games that's like a multi-platform release here, I was kind of hoping we'd get a little bit more out of what the Switch 2 could do, but still, it's pretty cool to have the full skateboarding experience be available. I guess you would say out on the go is kind of the coolest part, that you could just take these, games with you and just kind of enjoy the magic of the full Pro Skater experience out and about, which is quite neat. So we're going to be diving over to the, diving in and talking about the different modes, different ways to play, and what this experience has to offer. I'm trying to get the the skill token there in case you're wondering. So I mostly played this on the PlayStation 5 Pro, and well, you might have caught the stream of it, maybe not, I don't know, depends on if you watch the channel. And then I was like, okay, we'll take a look on the Switch 2. I took a look at a bunch of the free skate maps. This is the career mode, so you can actually see what the progression is kind of like, but wanted to give you an idea of things, talk about what it has to offer, and showcase the game in general. So yeah, it's the return of, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 plus 4. So you get to enjoy the magic of the experience like you kind of did back in the day. The maps are back, but times have changed. Everybody's a little bit older. I'm a bit older. Tony Hawk and all his buddies are a little bit older. And they got some new skaters in there, and they got the ability to make your own skater. And Doom Guy returns, which is always a lot of fun. And you just get a great selection of kind of, I guess you would say, tracks or map areas to work through as you progress and attempt to unlock other levels. You can jump in right away. You'd be like, okay, I'm going to go and do Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. That's your choice, right? You can do 3, you can do 4, you can mix them back and forth. You can do free skate stuff, there's multiplayer. There's actually quite a lot to enjoy in this game. If you're wondering about the soundtrack, the game does feature a streamer mode, which I am very thankful for. Otherwise, it'd just be like dead quiet. And I don't mind the music that's playing in the streamer mode too. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Not bad. Kind of gets the job done. But yeah, no, there's quite a few ways to play, and then there's also like custom maps, and they really do have a wealth of content for the game. Like, this is a very stuffed package, which I think a lot of people will genuinely appreciate if they are, fans of the series. So let's dive in and talk a bit about the technical stuff. This is where I was hoping the game was like a little bit more impressive. So the game it's pretty clean looking, but it is dynamic resolution scaling. I was getting like a 1080p sort of dynamic where it was not. I don't think I ever got like a full 1080p, quite honestly. It seems to fluctuate between like 600 to like 800p depending on the scenario. I was trying some of the later maps in this game and some of the later maps in Pro Skater 4 to kind of get a check on that one. And I mean, I think you can tell pretty easily too that it's like a blurry thing, and it could, maybe it is outputting something a little bit higher using like a scaling thing, but like it is it's kind of blurry. And when you're undocked, like how I'm gonna go to, it's gonna be, it's gonna be a little bit more intensive. Canada, good old Calgary, and it's like, it's not like jaggy though. Like the picture quality is actually pretty decent, all things considered. It's just like blurry. It is targeting 60 FPS, and I say targeting as in like it drops frames like pretty pretty often. Like, it's not terrible. Like, if you're a normal Switch fan, like you've been playing the first Switch for years, this is like kind of the quality that you're probably used to, I would imagine. So yeah, just kind of keep that in mind, that it does, have performance drops, and it seems to be kind of like, it's not totally present across the board, but there's a lot of maps where you're just like, yeah, the performance is definitely does drop, which is odd considering the lower resolution threshold that I was at least getting for when I was checking out it. I was like, oh, okay. And then there are some crashes that will pop up when you're playing. Again, I don't know how common it's going to be for people, but there definitely was some crashes. So a little bit of room for a little bit of updating and a little bit of fine-tuning on this one, as far as like I would say just like making sure that the crashes aren't happening, right? I think that's a bare minimum kind of desire on this one, as far as like, technical stuff. But like, I think visually it looks okay, particularly like when you're undocked. It's not bad out in the go for a visual, perspective. When you are docked on the TV, like I said, I was playing this on the PlayStation 5 Pro. I mean, they're not necessarily consoles to compare them, but it is my console comparison basis of like, the top tier sort of console that we currently have available. So that's what I kind of base it off of, and like the picture difference is like, yeah, it's pretty noticeable. But I think for like a Switch 2 game, it's not too bad looking. Honestly, it's not too bad looking. Okay, so we didn't need to do that. Let's update our skill point a little bit, and let's go back to the main menu, and we're going to show off Pro Skater 4 so you can see a little bit of that. I'm going to show you the whole thing, but it's just kind of like, doing bit by bit. I would say from a loading perspective, the game does load pretty quickly. Like, there's... Yeah, it's not too bad. It does take a second or two, but it's not terrible for loading. Some of the maps, take a little bit longer than other ones. Could we actually get like a sick? Oh, it's only his boards. I guess if I make my own character, there's like Doom boards. Like if you're into Doom Slayer and you have like the special edition thing, it's pretty sweet. But all to their own. And when I talk about like the resolution scaling stuff, like it is going to wildly vary based on which map you're on, because some of the maps are a lot more demanding, if that makes sense. Like they have a lot more, like there's more going on. This is what I was saying though, sometimes it does take a bit to like get rolling. Cool. But yeah, no, I think for the most part you should be pleased from this, or for this experience. And there we go. There's one of the crashes we were talking about, right? That's exactly what I was talking about. Activision. Because that is not something I had on the PlayStation. There's New Game Plus. So if you like New Game Plus, that's pretty cool. There's Create a Park stuff, Share a Park, play what others have made. And then there's like the multiplayer stuff, which is pretty chill, and you get groups of people, but we're going to talk about that in a sec. Let's see if we can dive back into the process here and kind of get onto it. It is kind of funny that there's crashes like that are present. Alright, let's try college again. Oh, Pro Skater. Oh, Nintendo Switch 2. I think this is actually the first game crash I've had on a Switch 2 console, so that's a new experience for me. I'm glad I was able to. No, seriously, like this is the first game where it's like there's actually like legitimate crashes on Switch 2 stuff, which is a bit funny. But there's lots of tricks you can pull off. The game is pretty accessible for new players. I think returning players will feel right at home and have a lot of fun with this and have a good time. And like, as I said, if they could just like update it and kind of get that stuff fixed, I genuinely think it's like a pretty cool experience. The Joy-Con You know, the rumble and stuff feels really nice with it. Like, it is a genuinely impressive package here. Like, this is really, really cool. I don't know if I did... I don't think I've revisited Pro Skater 1 and 2 yet on the Switch 2, but that's something I should probably do at some point, because I think I have the first one on the Switch, actually, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, this has been really, really fun to dive back into. I was having, like, a riot of a time playing this the other night when I was streaming it. I was just, like, you know, going and doing all the challenges. Some of the challenges are, like, a little ridiculous for unlocking things, but, you know, it's still, like, just fun to shred around. But I do think, as I said, like, some people that are, like, into the original version of this game, you will find, you know, the changes as far as, like, career mode goes, where they've basically just turned it into another Pro Skater 1 and 2. You might be a little disappointed if you were like, I wanted to play that original version. And like I said, there is that actual age progression here, which might weird some people out. Because the idea here is with this remaster, it's like, yeah, you have your original version of the game back in the day, but the idea is now you can see these places from, like, a modern lens and a modern context, where it's like, yeah, time has gone by, these guys have gotten older, like I said, I've gotten older. If you played this back in the day, you've gotten older too, especially if you're probably around my age, I would imagine, if you were doing this stuff when it was out back in the day. But yeah, it's definitely, like, a thing to be back playing this. It's quite fascinating, because it feels like so many years have gone by, and it's just like playing 1 and 2, like, even the gap between 1 and 2 and this one are just massively large. Let's take a look at the settings and everything now, and then we'll do some more maps and whatnot while we're playing. So we got free skate, so you can just jump in, play the maps through 4, do some quick maps that people have made online that are, like, well, I guess they're built by, like, the company, and thrown in here. And then single session for high score runs, speed runs, tutorial options, and then the little movies, which are all the clips and everything like that. Then we've got our skaters. So your skater, you're unlocking stats like you were seeing when I was playing the game. I was getting skill points. These allow you to do things like, oh, my speed's going up, or oh, my hang time, or my air time. And every, you know, kind of character has, like, stats that they build up, and you collect them, and it's like a shared stats. You get 2 stats here, you know, these other people get stats. So that's the idea, is it's just, you know, all these stats. And then there's all these characters you can get, like I said, a bunch of, like, old skaters, new skaters. They all have different abilities, they all have different talents, they all have different things that they do, and you can, you know, customize them a little bit as well, and be like, okay, you got this style, you got that style. And that's kind of neat. And you can also, like I said, you can sit there and make your own character. So if you don't like the idea of this, there's just a ton of options for, like, names, style, aesthetics, and you're constantly unlocking stuff in this game. So they got an in-game shop, but it's like, it's money you earn while playing. And they got, like, tons of boards, and, like, just a ton, and grip tapes and wheels, and there's all this apparel you can get to personalize your character, and all these branded things, and you just earn everything in the game. And then there's secrets. You can unlock some favorite returning maybe characters, Bam, and stuff like that, because everybody was complaining about, I don't know Bam well enough, I guess, apparently. I know Michelangelo, though, not just kidding. Anyways, and then there's other secrets, like this isn't all the secrets. The more you play, the more stuff pops up here that you can get. And challenges. So you do challenges, and then you unlock extra little, like, packages of things, like outfits and stuff. So there's lots of ways to earn tons of really, really cool things, which I think you'll find awesome. And then there's multiplayer. So multiplayer has, like, competitive, so, like, 8 players kind of going at it. Everything's cross-play. Hawk mode, which is, like, a bit of a special competitive thing, a little bit more intimate and it's challenging. Free skating, local multiplayer, and then private matches as well. And then here, of course, all the other settings and everything that you can do there. So that's the multiplayer. And then Create a Park. So Create a Park's really cool because it's got a bunch of maps you can play, and there's going to be more over time, like people are just starting to make these. And I just kind of wanted to show off a little bit of, like, what this is like. And you can make your own, you know, parks. And what's really cool about the evolution of the customization for the Create a Park in this game is the fact that you can now like set up challenges. So it's like an actual, like you're building an actual map. So this is like, you know, Pro Skater 1 and 2, blah, blah, blah. I'm actually surprised that this game maybe wasn't treated as like a bit of a map pack or like a DLC almost for 1 and 2, because it is so similar. But no, the skate park here is really neat because like you really can make actual levels, and people in the community, if they wanted to, they could recreate fan favorite levels from the other Tony Hawk games. And like it's not necessarily the perfect map making tool. We gotta restart this run. It is pretty great, and it's pretty easy and pretty intuitive to create stuff that you want to create, and I think that's quite awesome. I kind of like compare it hilariously to, say, like Halo's Forge mode, which being on the Switch, you might have no context there at all about what that is. But essentially the Forge modes, you know, that you build some really cool stuff, but they have like a bit of a plasticky kind of like, this is user created sort of vibe and aesthetic. But, because, you know, you can't really do texturing and, you know, changing the baked lighting stuff, but you can make a pretty nice looking game. Well, I guess you could set up some lights. You get what I mean, though. It's not like the proper dev tools, but it's really, really sweet for recreating levels and just going like a little bit further than what we were able to do with the map creations last time around. Like if you played 1 and 2, you know, the system there was really, really cool, but it did feel kind of limited. And just by adding these quality of life things like challenges and time challenges, I think it just kind of takes the game a lot further and just adds a little bit more quality to the experience that we're enjoying here. So I think people are really, really going to like that as a setting. Cool, so we're gonna back out of that, and we're gonna show off another map here, so that you can see more of them in action. I'm just trying to give you a full idea of things. And then there's game modifiers too, and that's an option in the menu that you can choose. I wonder if we can get that from here. You got game modifiers. So you can actually increase the speed of the game too, or like how much time you have to do stuff, and make things a little bit easier on you if you need assists. Display options, it's just like LDR calibration and stuff, but like control layouts, cross plays in there, and then like I said, sound settings, streamer modes on. But it's pretty like, you know, it's pretty straightforward in what it is and what it offers, but I think they give you a lot of tools and a lot of settings to kind of make the Tony Hawk experience exactly what you want it to be. But I would say for the Switch 2 version of the game, like it's the full experience, which I think is awesome. You know, like I think they could have, personally, I think they should have been able to, why am I flying? That's terrifying. I don't think that's supposed to happen. At least she's having fun. Stay off the grass, because apparently the grass is poison. Anyways, yeah, you get the full scope of the game. You get all the levels, all the multiplayer, all the whole package here. And you just get to have what is a really, really quite excellent, like, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater time. Like, I really like this series. I think 1 and 2 were a lot of fun. It's great to get more of these games done. I'd love to see them take a crack at like Underground, or maybe like, I don't know, maybe make a new game in the series in the vein of this styling, which would be fine for me, you know. But we'll have to wait and see what happens, and hopefully this goes over well. This is not one of the better levels, but it's a level. It's mostly just to show you what the creator maps are kind of like, just picking what's available and giving you a good demo of it, so that you get a full sense of scope here. But like the Switch 2 version, as I said, like it's not bad. I like it. I do think, you know, there are some definite limitations being on the Switch 2, you know, as far as resolution, as far as frame rate, and then the crashes. But I think as soon as they get the crashes kind of fixed up, I believe this will be a pretty proficient way to play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Because like I said, nothing really beats the idea of being able to play this out on the go, if that makes sense. Like taking it with you and adventuring around with this game, I think is a really awesome thing. And just like playing it out and about, I think would be pretty sweet if that was something I did with my life. But, you know. So yeah, nice package, good offering. It could be better for Switch 2. but I think most people will be pleased with it. Get out and grind.